All right, so the speakers' names and titles are in here, but I guess as you suggested, Leah, we'll go through them as we speak. So thank you for joining this short discussion. I'm Tamar, I'm Vice President at Ex Libris. And last week, I celebrated my 23rd anniversary of working at the company. When I joined, Ex Libris was a small company with a few hundred customers. From day one, the founders of the company, Yochanan Spruch on the technology side and Azriel Morag on the business side, made it clear that collaboration with the customer community is key to developing solutions that people love to use. The first conference that I attended as I joined was the 10th International User Group meeting in Siena, Italy. I was amazed at the enthusiasm of both the community members and my colleagues. Since then, Ex Libris has developed many solutions together with its user community. While innovation has always been an important part of the Ex Libris DNA, we have worked hand in hand with development partners for each solution. We've been lucky to have always found customers who are forward-thinking and courageous enough to join us in our new adventures. Besides collaborating with development partners early in the product development process, we work closely with early adopters when the products have reached a certain level of maturity. Finally, when the solutions are ready, as much as software products can be ready, we embark on a lifelong partnership with the customer's product working groups to ensure that we learn from the community and address the members' needs. Of course, there is also ongoing collaboration that is not product specific. We work with the steering committees of both Eluna, the North American User Group, and IGLU, the International User Group, as well as with various national user groups. We team up with customers for advisory boards, special focus group, task forces, summit meetings, conferences. We are well aware of how much effort the community invests in helping us shape our technologies, and we are truly grateful. The Ex Libris collaborative approach remained exemplary when we joined ProQuest in 2015, and now our new colleagues at Clarivate are looking at our model to understand how to build sound foundations for long-term partnerships. Before handing over the mic to Ellen, I'd like to add a personal note. I feel extremely lucky to be part of the extraordinary Ex Libris story and to have had the opportunity to meet wonderful people in libraries all over the world. Many of those people have become personal friends of mine. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. And Ellen, first to you.
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Alan Jones. I'm the current chair of the Ex Libris Users for North America. Just to give you a sense of the membership, there are currently 1,538 members within the North American continent, about 645 members internationally. So with the organizations this size, we take our collaboration, our conversations, not to mention the money that's spent in many of these in many of these types of ventures very seriously. And one of the things that I'm going to say that I value so much about the collaboration with Ex Libris is that we're one of the relationship in many ways is unique. It's unique because we actually have an agreement, a shared software agreement that allows the community to propose a certain number of ideas for features, and then the entire community over those 2,200 institutions has the opportunity to actually vote on that functionality. And Ex Libris has agreed to develop those features within a 12-month release cycle. So it's not the same type of relationship as other types of technology, vendors, because it's not the situation where you're posting an idea and maybe you might have some traction from a developer or something else. There's actually requirements, there are service level agreements that we have in actually delivering these features. So in this sense, as features are developing, it's actually reinforcing the value of this relationship with one another. Our key activities really are fourfold. The first is to build community with one another. We have a common set of tools that we use, and frequently what we try to do is we try to exchange knowledge with one another about how we're actually solving these problems individually within each of our institutions. We also build community in terms of the specific domains of experience or subject area domains. So for example, there are two different types of groups. There are the product working groups that are specific to the enhancement voting, the operations of the product, and they meet with product management on a monthly basis. Many times I was on a new UI design where we were meeting weekly, sometimes more than weekly, talking about different types of direction, strategy, and how we actually wanted to go with this. So the involvement is actually quite high, and the engagement is very fruitful. But there's also another group that is really growing in importance, and those are the different types of communities of practice. These are the people who have a particular type of subject domain expertise, that whether that be in analytics or business analysis, or whether that be in metadata issues, or whether that be in linked open data, or whether that be in special collections and archives, medical libraries. These are these types of, so that if you have the larger umbrella of Illuna, you have these small pockets of expertise that within the software, we can actually begin to develop user stories that turn into actionable features within the platform. Those user stories turn into a voting mechanism where the community votes. There's an incredible amount of collaboration and discussion within and among the steering committees, as well as the working groups. Pascal Calarco, who's also on this panel, is a past chair, and we have two other steering committee members as well. So the engagement level is actually quite high. And then there's the communication out to the rest of the community, not just on what's going on with each of the individual softwares, but more importantly, things like initiatives that like our diversity, equity, and inclusiveness initiative, or controlled digital lending. There are advisory groups that actually advise on the strategy of where it is that Ex Libris should be going and how they should be adopting this type of thing. So in this sense, it's very much symbiotic. You have the on-the-ground expertise of the community, and then you have the technological expertise of Ex Libris coming together to build these products in a much more joint way. So it's this type of relationship that's kept me involved for over 10 years, and I just absolutely value it and welcome the opportunity to talk about it anytime I can. So with that, I'll pass it off to Pascal.
Great, thanks, Alan. Good afternoon. My name is Pascal Calarco. I'm a systems librarian this year after completing a 5-year term as university librarian at the University of Windsor's Leddy Library here in Canada last summer. I'd like to briefly share my personal experience with Ex Libris and our customer community, looking back over the past 22 years of involvement. This is really in 3 components: as a customer, as a community leader, and most recently, as executive sponsor of our library, being involved as a library development partner for Rialto. Perhaps after hearing my reflection, you'll want to get involved with Illuna too. We'd love to have you. In 2000, 5 years into my career, Virginia Commonwealth University Libraries were looking at replacing our end-of-life mainframe-based Notice LMS and we chose Ex Libris as our vendor partner to work with. What stood out back then and continues today was Ex Libris's commitment to be a vendor that would work hand in hand with its customer community. It was more than just a business relationship. It was a partnership journey to innovate together in the library technology space as libraries were embarking on all things digital back then. I had the opportunity to work in successfully more complex organizations over the years at the University of Notre Dame and their local library consortium, then here in Canada with another consortium hosted at the University of Waterloo, and finally here at Windsor, where I had the opportunity to also serve as the chair for Collaborative Futures, bringing 16 academic research libraries together, leveraging Ex Libris's library technology platforms. Next slide, please. These experiences got me embedded in the customer community, and leadership there ran in parallel to my own career. I've helped put together annual programs, serve as leader for the community groups around Ex Libris's products, served as Luna chair for 2 years, and I'm on my 4th tour of duty on a Luna steering committee, which has always worked with Ex Libris's senior leadership very closely. In many ways, my career grew very much in tandem with Ex Libris's, and having a deep involvement with our technical and strategic linkages as vendor and community customer community became a core competency of mine over time. Next slide, please. The third experience, of course, built on these first two in the opportunity for our library to participate in the development of a new product, which came to be known as Rialto. The experience of our team working with 5 other academic libraries in the United States and 4 others in the United Kingdom, along with Ex Libris and ProQuest teams, was a wonderful chance to bring our seasoned knowledge of strategy and practice with their seasoned knowledge of strategy and technology solutions. It's been a journey for me that I continue to appreciate after all these years, now with Ex Libris as a key solutions provider with Clarivate. I'll turn things over to Hong Ma next. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hong Ma. My title is already shown on the slides. What I want to introduce myself is, as Alan said, I'm one of the INUNA steering committee member. I joined the steering committee in 2020. So my major focus is liaison to the community of practice, which you heard Tama and Alan both touched about foundationally how the user community tight collaborate with Ex Libris. So the community of practice is really, it's not a product specific, but really cover making sure the wider range of new coming involving technology trend or needs get covered across the multiple products. So examples you heard Alan mention about linked open data, as we all know how semantic web is impact our information discovery. Another area example is analytics, right? It's kind of as we are moving to data-driven decision-making process, how analytics across a lot of Ex Libris product is become extremely increasingly important. So I'm liaison with the community, really experience, just reiterate everybody has said, it's amazing how tight collaboration hasn't been happening and really influence the further development from Ex Libris across the products. Also, just to kind of echo Alan said, like we all know, like there are other needs like metadata, special collections, all those is become more involving. So I'm really, in my experience as a liaison to the group INUNA, involving with the INUNA community, really impressed is, as those of you we know, the software development is really like moving to the DevOps, the model, right? So this is really actualize, execute the really how tight the operational, like as library, we are familiar with our operation and how the developers and operational focus get really tied together to figuring out, again, same as Alan said, come from user stories and draw from the user stories and conclude the needs and be able to convey the specific user story requirements back to the Ex Libris development team. I feel like the community really strongly built the pipeline for that. So it's really great. As my own institution, part of a reason we picked 6 years ago, we evaluate the library management system, end up with Ex Libris. The tight collaboration with community is one of our major factor we consider. So with that, I'm going to just pass the mic to colleague Greg. He will provide more information about the working group experience. Greg, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Hung. So I'm going to talk about some examples of additional things that working groups in Eluna can do. This all kind of flows from the shared product agreement, shared product development agreement, I should say, and the work we have to do to collaborate on that. Then the working groups and Ex Libris have a relationship, and we meet monthly, as Alan said, and we do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to give you some examples from Leganto, which is the course materials application. This is the thing that the working groups have done over the last couple of years. So focus groups with Eluna and Igloo working groups and the Ex Libris product management team are a great way to focus development in on a specific area and bring in user feedback to know what their needs are. So we did a tighter purchase integration between Alma, the mothership, and the Leganto application. And we brought in people from all across the world to say, you know, like, how do I need to purchase things as part of the Leganto workflow and what needs to be updated in Alma to help out. We've also did things like the LTI 1.3 implementation, where we worked with Ex Libris to, learn things about implementation and learn things about how things should be documented and seeing where there were roadblocks. So that happened last summer and fall. And coming up, we've got a new UX and UI that's going to be developed. And they're inviting, the best thing about them is that they invite not only librarians, but also instructors and instructional designers and other people who have different viewpoints and needs here in the processes. So that's going to be a big one that's coming up here. The Eluna Leganto working group brought together the North American community to have a town hall on copyright practices and functionality, and consulted with Ex Libris product team and specialists just to make sure that they knew what we were doing and that the outputs would be useful and valuable. So that's another thing the working group has put together. We collaborate closely with the Igloo working group that also flows from the shared product development agreement and having to run the enhancement process yearly. We collaborated on webinars on course load and course cleanup. We kind of dubbed them as by the community for the community, and we did those twice because we've got different time zones to deal with. So we had we actually were able to do them in the afternoon and evening, and it wasn't too bad for us. Finally, Eluna working group, we consulted with customer experience manager and one of the product specialists, and we started a new customer onboarding process. So when new Leganto customers come through, we can bring their voice into the community right away. And it's hard for us as customers to know when there are new customers coming on, but the product management team knows that, and they're able to work with us so that we can create a process to make sure that our community grows. That's all I've got.
So
Great.
I just wanted to say that the amount of of material, the breadth of what it is that we do. We have a conference that's going on right now that's taking an entire month to go over the various different aspects of the ways that the community as well as the products are being updated. And so I would invite anyone who's interested to find out some of these activities to take a look at the Eluna annual meeting. It's free, and you can participate, ask Ex Libris questions. We've got the Ex Libris Q&A that's coming up on the 24th. This is the level of engagement that we have with the vendor, and it's unlike anything we've had with others. So thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Thank you to the rest of the group. I think we have time for at least one question here before we move to our next presentation. Can Ex Libris speak to the staffing needs for their company to administer and manage all the partnership activities?
So I haven't thought about it because it's part of our job. It's not something that we do in addition. It's very obvious from the moment that we think of a product, and I can talk about Legando because it was my job to do that. We work with a community. It's like, you have to prepare a report for your expenses, or you do whatever you do. This is part of it. So of course it takes quite a lot of effort, but we think that it goes without saying.
Thank you.
And I can also confirm, I mean, it is part of the DNA of the company.
Thank you very much. One more. Does the Eluna community talk about interoperability of Ex Libris products with other products?
I can take this. This is actually my fun question. The theme of the conference is interoperability. And so the answer is absolutely. One of the things that we started looking at, particularly with Primo, when there was the new UI design, was specifically how vendors could actually inject their components into the interface instead of everything just being developed by Ex Libris. So interoperability is something that is incredibly important to both the community as well as Ex Libris, not to mention the commitment to participating in national information standards and some of those discussions that are happening profession-wide.
Thank you very much. Well, with that, I think we are right at time. So I'm going to say thank you to all of our presenters from Ex Libris, and then we'll move to our next presentation.